There we are. I think that sorts myself out. Hello and welcome to Animus Lives number 3, I think. Yes, number 3. At least that's what I think I've put in the title. Oh, 2 people are watching. Hello. Antonio, if you're still there. Hi. No, I've not seen Godzilla vs. Hulk Death Battle. Wasn't even aware that was a thing. Yes, this is a bit of an impromptu stream, to say the least. I was thinking of doing one earlier at the time I had last week, which was 5 o'clock my time. God knows what time that is everywhere else. Then I decided, no, don't really have much to think about or talk about. Then I had a few things to talk about, and now we're here. I am all over the place right now. One of the things I've got in my title, War of the Worlds, was something that Sea Monster was or did do a stream on Friday, and I wanted to be a part of that because I wanted to talk about how silly the film was. Unfortunately, the reason I couldn't was because of work. And work this week has been absolutely awful. If you've ever been part of a company where your work is quite valued, where you are valued as a person, as a worker, and then you have time off, you have to put a lot of trust into people. You have to trust that people will do their jobs and cover for you. As it turned out, I put a little bit too much trust into the people covering me. So yeah, this week was kind of awful, it must be said, trying to deal with everything. And yeah, the suffice to say, on Friday I was doing hours of overtime, and then I was doing hours of overtime on Saturday as well. I'm not supposed to work Saturdays, but I was working Saturdays of my own volition as well. So it's kind of my own fault. I didn't have to go in to work. I have the key to work, which is kind of funny. Is that I'm the person who opens up every day. I've got quite a lot of responsibility in that regard. I did not have to go into work, but I did because otherwise Monday would have been even more awful than this week has been. So yeah, my energy levels have been in the can, and that's why I wasn't thinking of streaming today, because I was going to take this whole day off. I was going to give this day to the gods and just do nothing. But stuff's happened, so now I want to say stuff. I want to say stuff without having to put way too much work into it. Oh my god! For everyone who's interested, I started recording the audio for the GXK video. You'll be glad to know. Randomly decided to start recording it today, and yeah, that is now in the works. Thank God. Have you ever watched the Godzilla 2000? Yes, the Long Kong. Peter Jackson's Long Kong. I actually reference it in a few of my videos because of the history behind it. Yeah, I'm starting to see all the all the quotes from the War of the Worlds film. Good Lord, that film. You know what? Let's start with War of the Worlds. Why not? God knows how long ago that came out, how out of the zeitgeist it is now, but flipping heck. I was watching that film, and I can't remember what point I stopped thinking this, but for quite a lot of the film, I was thinking, this is going to be a joke, a prank. It's just going to be, because when he's running, trying to get out of the building, and all the doors are locked, he's like, I'm locked in, I can't get outside. And all I can think is, he's just everything he's looking at right now is on his screen. It's so it'll be easy as all bloody hell to just fake everything. But everything he's seen, all his input is coming in through a screen. It'd be easy enough to, especially when it's revealed that the son is the hacker. It would have been so easy just for the whole thing to be a trick played on him by his family to get him to stop being such a nosy bastard. Especially when you had um the bit where he's trying to save the daughter and he's going, I got you. Don't worry, I got you. I got you. It's like, yes, okay, I got you. We got it. It's the way he says calm. I'm assuming it's an American accent thing, but stay calm. Stay calm. I was just, oh, Jesus Christ, please stop saying that word. But yeah, I imagine the whole film was going to be a prank played on him to trick him into thinking that the world was ending, and then surprise, you're not ending. Oh, it was just us trying to like teach you a lesson. But no, it was actually just like supposed to be a real thing that was happening. That made absolutely no sense. It made absolutely no sense. The I think Sea Monster, you pointed out in your stream, when the military attacks the tripods and then the tripods start like getting destroyed, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, so this is going to end quickly. Then they said, oh, they've got our data now, so we can't fight them anymore. So the bloke in the tank who just looks through a scope and aims at a tripod can no longer do that because his iPhone's out of data? Question mark? As it's such a bad film, and all the quotes. The bit where I realised just how bad the film was going to be was when it's got the Shin Godzilla thing of it can't stick to one camera angle for more than about 5 seconds, and it just bounces around from one app to another, to one webcam to another. It's so schizophrenic. But at one point, it was doing that, and it just randomly panned up to Ice Cube's face. He pushes his glasses up, and it cuts back to another app. As soon as I saw that, I thought, why on earth did you need to show him doing that? Was there any purpose to him doing that? To which the answer is no. It just they just showed it because I don't know, they stayed on one app for a second too long and they needed to cut to something else in case they're like short tempered, short attention span audience couldn't take looking at one thing for too long. Oh God, that film is terrible. The whole Goliath thing, the fact that the database is just it's just a bigger spyware thing. And then towards the end, he says, "Don't worry, it's cut off, so they can't get to it." And I was, how is it doing anything if it's cut off? If it's isolated and can't like interact with anything, how is it interacting with anything? What? Who? Why? Who thought this was good? Or just the whole thing of you're going to get the world destroyed by turning this thing on, and his response was something along the lines of, "Yeah, but we get to spy more." Okay, you get to spy for about 5 seconds before you all die. Well done. Oh God, that film. Can I invite people onto? How do I invite people onto here? I've not actually tried inviting people before. It's uh, what's that there? Invite guests to your studio. Okay, let's try this. I don't know if anyone fancies coming on. Sea Monster and oh no, Antonio said, "You know what? We'll leave it for later. I'm way too tired to be mucking around with that." Um, but yeah, War of the Worlds is actually. It was really weird how I was following along with it, And yeah, okay, I'm getting along with this. I'm understanding what's going on. It's going to be a very weird watch, but we can go with this. And then just stuff like they have stolen the data, but YouTube Live is still working. What? How? Um, there's a point where the whole tripods and the flying saucer bit. Apparently, the tripod is meant to be the data gathering device, and the flying saucer headpiece is not, which is such a weird way of doing it. I think they even said the tripods are Trojan horses for the little bug things. The fact that the little bug things are the actual Martians. Are they Martians? I don't think they actually ever mentioned them being Martians. That's interesting. Or they kill the not Martians, I shall say. They killed the not Martians with a virus, which is tangentially related to how the Martians got killed in the original War of the World story, i.e., bacteria killed them. But bacteria is like this the whole thing of like they weren't prepared. So they thought they were prepared. Their like overconfidence basically killed them. But in this, it's like, oh well, bacteria is kind of analogous to virus, and then the computer virus we can kill them with that. It's like that kind of defeats the whole purpose of being killed by bacteria. Oh my god. Yeah, this film is War of the Worlds 2025 is a perfect example of how somebody does not understand the original source at all and just wants it for name recognition. Sometimes that can be fine if the original source material ain't great or is really obscure. But in this particular case, this was a very bad idea. They still mention that they're aliens, but not Martians specifically. Yeah, I've just thought about that now. Well, and thinking about everything about that film, and then just suddenly realizing, oh wait, they never mentioned that they're Martians. Uh all the Amazon stuff, all of the Amazon stuff is absolutely hilarious. It just clicked. Like when he kept on mentioning Amazon, it's like, oh right, yeah, this is a this is an Amazon film. Uh, Hi Kaskeg. This film wants to be anti-deep state, yet our heroes use the deep state and its tech to save the world. It is a very confused film, it must be said, and the writing is just awful. The son at the start of the film, uh, I think Ice Cube says to him, "Oh, why don't you get out of the house or something like that?" He has going for playing computer games and living in his house rent free or something. And the son says, "Don't you mean Mom's house? Because Mom's stuff is all still here." And it's meant to be about like just him like getting stuck on the family. Like his wife died to know if he was overly protective of the kids. That's what's meant to be meant by that. Hello, Minecraft world. My son is hacking the government. But yeah, he says about all Mum's stuff is still here, and Ice Cube T Cube, whichever one he is, I can't remember. Um, he gets annoyed by that because, in which case, he meant to be like, okay, yes, so that's a truism. When the house gets blown up, all he has to say is something along those lines. Well, couldn't you have just streamed from our house and get Mike's house blown up, or something along those lines? He does not care one jot that his house, that he has kept all of his dead wife's stuff in, has just been blown up. He does not care one jot. It's why bring that up in and then not do anything with it, or have him not care about it. Yeah. This War of the Worlds 2025 is bad, like bad. I would love just to put all the. He gets his daughter to get into a Tesla, which I suppose he was saying that. I think what was it? This film was made during the lockdown, so at the time, a lot of people still had trust in Teslas. So the idea, if this was made more recently, if this was made more recently, getting his daughter to get into a Tesla to then auto drive her to a hospital would be a very, very bad idea. She would probably be in more danger getting into a Tesla than just walking around. But the fact that she's off to one side and being completely ignored by the tripods, and then he tells her to get into the Tesla, which is in front of a tripod. Like the tripod is actively heading towards it and was about to step on it just by pure coincidence, accident, whatever. And he was directing his daughter to get into it. It's like, are you trying to kill her? Granted, she was trying to kill herself. He told her multiple times, do not pull whatever it was in her leg out. Don't put it out. It'll cause problems. And she's supposed to be a scientist, so you'd think she would have more of an idea that doing that was a bad idea. And she does it anyway. At which point she wins the Darwin Award. She's genetically like coded to fail as a human being at that point. I'm sorry. Sees death tolls going to the tens of thousands. That's a lot. Oh god, yeah. Um when the world is ending, potentially, the world is in serious trouble. Serious trouble. And he starts ignoring calls from his boss, who's probably having meetings with the president, who was having meetings with the president at the time, and he ignores the call from him. Wow, what an idiot. Granted, they kind of foreshadow that a little bit. Well, what's the word? Can't think of the word now. Lampshade. Lampshade? Possibly lampshade. They kind of lampshaded that a little bit by saying that he's taking the graveyard shift, like the Sunday shift. So potentially they're suggesting that he's not actually that good at his job and he's actually been shunned to a shift that nobody else wants to do. That is potentially that excuses the fact that he is not only terrible at his job, but his priorities are all over the place and in the wrong place more often than not. It was quite funny watching it, and every time he needed to look at somebody, there just happened to be a drone overhead. It's like every single time, it's like, oh, I need to look at somebody on the ground. Oh, look, a drone. it's, it's a, either either that's just the film being like really terrible, or Washington DC has a lot of military drones flying over the top of it for some reason. They might want to look into that. Uh, God, are there any other things? Amazon Live, Amazon Air drone saving the world. The homeless guy who just so happened to have a phone and apparently had an Amazon account despite being homeless and potentially completely broke. It's just uh, the fact that the drones are attacking the tripods are attacking the drone, and the reason behind it is it's got data on it, therefore they all try to attack it. In that case, surely they would attack all sorts of things. The Tesla earlier would theoretically have quite a lot of data on it compared to that memory stick, and they completely ignore the Tesla. And is there only one Tesla in the entire Washington DC area? Are there more? In which case, wouldn't they be attacking all of the cars? There are just normal cars would probably have more data on them, just purely because of the way cars are built now, they would have more data on them than the memory stick, that random memory stick with a single virus on it. Yeah, this film doesn't make any sense, does it? Can you talk about the boyfriend? Uh, what the hell is? Oh, yeah, the boyfriend's kind of shit. It must be said. The fact that the tripods not needing to be tripods is just. How did the silent get it right twice? To be fair, Minecraft world, they do say that the tripods are the thing that steal the data. Like the tentacles come out of the tripod legs. It doesn't answer the question as to why they couldn't have just attached that to the flying bit. They need an entire walking mechanism to carry the rape tentacle, essentially. They need an entire walking mechanism just to carry that. They couldn't have just stuck that with super glue to the bottom of the flying part. The homeless guy may have likely died, as when a tripod tried shooting down the drone after it started flying again. The death ray appears to be going down at where the guy was. Yeah, yeah, wouldn't be surprised. Here's can you imagine that just changing like the values of that? Here, homeless guy, here is some money. Please come over here. Please come over into danger with some money. Like, wow. I don't think that would be a great visual for the film if you put it that way. The boyfriend is the boyfriend's just weird. Again, it's one of those things that we start looking at the details, it probably doesn't make any sense. Like, don't worry, Dad. For some reason, he calls Ice Cube Dad. On my way, and then tens of minutes later, the Ice Cube calls him up. He's like, "Where are you? I'm on my way. Still, what means still? The streets are empty. There is no traffic, and you're within the same. How is it taking you so long to get there? Especially as an Amazon driver who probably knows the area like the back of his hand. What are you doing? Unless he's one of those terrible Amazon drivers, potentially. Uh, uh, he makes a tourniquet out of sellotape, which is interesting. I don't think that's how that would work. The fact that he goes, "I'll make a tourniquet. Don't worry, I'm a professional." How often do Amazon drivers have to make tourniquets out of sellotape? Why does that happen, Amazon? I think you need to. I think you. I think you need some human resources, um, like spot checking going on. If that's a thing that Amazon drivers need to learn. Oh God. Um, they have the line in the film when he's getting attacked by the tentacles because he's got the memory stick, which again doesn't make any sense. The tentacle attacks him, and he goes, "Move, bitch! Get out of the way!" To a tentacle. So why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that? The daughter probably has tetanus as well, since she had the piece of shrapnel on her. Yeah, because that was quite deep into her thigh, so that was probably into a major artery. So yeah, she's probably got tetanus. Yeah. Mind you, the timescales of this film are so vague. It's very unclear exactly how long not any of this takes. Like the fact that you go from the president has declared the war of the worlds, and seconds later the military is rolled out and attacking, and then seconds later the tripods are attacking major data centers, and then seconds later the military are losing the battles. Like, how long is this taking? Ice Cube quoting Ludacris in this film. I probably shouldn't mention that on my stream if I didn't. Yeah, that was such an odd thing to say in the film. Like, I don't even know like whose son is whose or whatever, but just including it, it's still bad. What is this? Some kind of War of the Worlds? Yeah. Was that? Was it Steve Allen playing the president? It looked like Steve Allen. I'm gonna. You know what? I'm going to Google it. War of the Worlds. No, not 2005. The bad one. That's it. um, cast. It'll be hilarious if Steve Allen is actually, because it looked like him. No, it doesn't look like it. That's a shame. It's just some random guy who happens to look like him. So yeah, War of the Worlds 2025 is not a good film. I'm not even sure it's worth like recommending to anyone. It's just that kind of bad. Yeah, just there's too many things that you're watching it and you go, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Why is that a thing? I did see oh god, somebody made a video on it that popped up last night, and I was like, oh, that'd be interesting to watch to see what he thinks. I have to remember to watch that at some point. But yeah, War of the Worlds 2025, bad film. Now we can move on to K-pop Demon Hunters, which I randomly decided to watch. Well, no, it wasn't. Well, it's kind of random. A friend of mine mentioned it to me, saying, "Oh, have you seen this? This is good." I was like, "What? What? You've watched this? Why have you watched this?" So I decided to watch it. I very much enjoyed it. I'm I'm one of those people who I like a good musical, and this film was very much a musical film. As much as as much as the film is meant to be K-pop, um, it's meant to be songs from an album at a concert or whatever. All of the songs that they sing are just like it's the sort of thing you would expect in a musical. It's people singing about their emotions and whatnot. And especially when the songs get used as plot items as well. They're not just songs, which does happen sometimes in musicals and other stuff. The songs don't work, weave their way into the plot as well. This one, the songs actually weave their way in, and it's really good. I really quite liked it, especially the takedown song. There are some. I mean, the general message of it is quite. There was a what was the other Amazon film? I did look this up earlier. Domina, Nomina. It's the monster film where you got the quote unquote girl who can transform into various creatures, but it's always a red creature. I went to watch it for its theatrical sing-along event and had a blast. Yeah, like K-pop Demon Hunters is very. It got me a couple of times in terms of like the emotionality of it and whatnot. But yeah, there was another Netflix film about a girl who could turn into various creatures, and that was essentially uh the trans narrative, the kaiju film. um, Nimona, that's it. Thank you, Nimona. That was essentially trans narrative, the kaiju film, because there's so many things about it in terms of like at one point he keeps on saying, "What are you?" or "Who are you?" and stuff like that. And she just says, "I'm Nimona." Even when he's asking, "What the hell creature are you? You're something that we've never seen before," and her replies, "Nimona." Um, Speaking of songs, the Animus has sent you some couple of songs for your GXK video. Oh, I might have missed those. I have to look for that. I didn't check whether they're copyrighted or not. We'll find out, I suppose, once the video's made in about 3 years. Anyway, but yeah, Nimona was like it was a little bit too on the nose for me. As much as I quite liked it, again, it also had plot problems. K-pop Demon Hunters, on the other hand, is sort of. like that in terms of it's all about the things that we hide or we're told to hide by um our peers, our mothers and fathers, adults, those from the previous generation who considered the things that we needed to hide and told us to do that, which negatively affects us, which yeah, it happens in the film. It's and the message of we need to get rid of that old thing because it doesn't work anymore and we need to make a new one. Again, messaging for life is just like there are things now that once we didn't understand, there are things now that we considered to be bad or embarrassing or shameful that nowadays we have better understandings for, and we need to change our perspective on life and the way that we do things. So in that regard, K-pop Demon Hunters is actually very good. It's very positive messaging. It does have some plot issues. This one has a bit more of a mental health angle, which is something that allowed me to personally resonate with it. Yeah, that whole thing of just no, it's not. It wasn't the mother. It was like the teacher, the senpai, or whatever. Um, her saying, "Oh, you need to hide this," and then that negatively affected her, made her choose to do things that uh she wouldn't otherwise have done, which actually caused negative effects in her life, and then physically affected her negatively. Yeah, and once she got around that, then she started uh being better as a person, then also trying to better other people. Um, also, it is that weird thing of it's very female heavy characters in this film, which is absolutely fine. It works for the setting, it works for the film, etc., etc. But it is kind of funny how this is actually something somebody brought up with Black Widow. In the Black Widow film, there's a news article somewhere. I did read it. God knows which one it is. They were saying about how they got a female director in for the Black Widow film because it was going to be a very female heavy film. But then the female director ended up being a lesbian, I think. But because, like nowadays, if a male director tries to sexualize a female character, oh, that's bad. You can't do that. But when it's a lesbian character expressing her sexuality in her films and her art, oh, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But not so much when you don't know that it's a lesbian director. So when the lesbian director made lots of sexy shots of Scarlett Johansson in Black Widow, test audiences are like, "Oh no, that's sexism. Oh, male gaze, etc." And then they had to start editing it out. But there's a couple of shots in the film where it's like, "Is Scarlett Johansson just in a shirt and nothing else?" And it's like, "Yeah," because there was an extended scene of her just walking around in a shirt, where the female lesbian director was like, "Oh, this is so sexy," and then later had to cut it out. The reason I mention that is because in K-pop Demon Hunters, you get the scene where the female group sees the male boy band and they are just salivating over how good looking they are. And multiple times throughout the film, they go on about the fact of how good looking they are. Oh, look at his abs. Oh, look how cute he is. And even when they're fighting and killing, well, I say killing them. I don't know if you can technically kill them because demons and all that. Anyway, when they're defeating them, even then they're going about, oh, abs. Oh, he's so cute. It's like, imagine if you did the turn again. It's just the whole thing. If you turned the tables and made the women men and men women, but had similar things going on, like the guys are going about, oh, look how like big her boobs are. Oh, look how hot she is. Would that still work? And in my opinion, no. But yeah, I did find that funny that that was a thing that was in the film and was apparently fine. Um, I also like how, despite Rumi's demon side being equally as embraced, the demons themselves are generally still unsympathetic. Rumi's demon side being equally as embraced. The demons themselves are generally still unsympathetic. That was something I was going to point out in terms of issues with the film, because the thematics are quite strong in terms of accepting things that in the past were seen as shameful, and the demon side, like the main character's demon side, is a part of that. But in the film, demons eat people. They eat souls. They kill people. And they specifically say at one point, at one point, the amount of people who have disappeared has tripled, or missing. The amount of missing persons reports have tripled in the past couple of days, and that is specifically because of the issues surrounding what the main characters are doing, and that's never really. Well, it's kind of the actual missing person stuff is never really addressed. When the train gets attacked, that's kind of even that's not really addressed. This is what I mean. It's like the strong thematic messaging, but how that translates into the film itself, there are some problems. And then you've got the whole thing of they're changing whatever the magical, I can't remember the name of the shield. The magical shield, which actually kind of made me think of Elden Ring fingerprints, like the chaos fingerprint stuff, rather than the like a sound wave, which is what I'm guessing it was supposed to look like. That magical shield thing, they're changing it from what it was before, which just kept demons down, and changing it into what exactly? Because the whole thing is about accepting things that were once taboo, including her whole demon thing, and then they show that tiger demon, which I now want a plushie of, annoyingly. That demon tiger thing. So can demons come through? Can they not? How is this working? What is working? You haven't really explained what exactly this new thing is. Which again is a bit of an issue, as far as I'm concerned, a bit of a plot issue that never gets addressed. Oh well. On animation. The animations I quite liked, because you got moments where you got the faces are I say very detailed. They're still the very smoothed out anime faces, but it wavers between slightly more detailed, slightly more realistic, and then the hyper cartoonish faces. I think the one that stood out for me was when they get back from the concert and they're like, "Oh, we're here. We're now going to relax." And then she pops up behind the sofa with that hyper animated face on, which is just like a blank slate, almost like her face has been drawn on with a pencil. And I loved the dynamic between the attempts at. I say the attempts. They actually do. I'm guessing there's some. Oh God, what the hell is it called? Motion tracking. Can't remember the name of it. There's definitely some of that going on, especially with like the dance scenes. I remember thinking the boy band, the Sarja Boys, the boy band. When they first pop up and start doing all their stuff, I was thinking, yeah, that's definitely someone's doing an actual dance there, and that's just been translated straight into the film. That's really smooth and detailed. That. But then there's other times where the animation is very spiky, very jumpy. But I'm guessing that's a deliberate choice based on what they want the film to look like at the time, what you want to get out of the film. So yeah, the animation I think is very good, and the animation styles and the changes of it. I think it's a great show of creativity. I really liked it. What have I missed? I believe the missing person stuff will be addressed in the sequels, and yes, we're getting 2 sequels. Really? That would be interesting. Hopefully they expand on the whole shield thing, exactly what that means. I believe the missing persons. I've just read that. There were rumors of a live action remake, but thankfully that was dispelled. Good. I mean, you could theoretically make a live action remake of this, but why? What's the point? Especially with just like, again, the animation really is really well done and really helps to make it work. You then also need to find people who look the part and can sing and can dance and act and all that, and that's going to be a thing, and not just for a bit part like in flipping Marvels, where they get that guy, that actual singer comes in for just one thing and all he does is sing. No, you need somebody who can do all of that for the entire film. That's going to be difficult. I'm hoping it gets a sequel. Oh, apparently we're into. I'll be looking. Hopefully they don't arcane that shit. Arcane had a good. It's a real shame they never made a sequel to Arcane. It's a shame they only made the one season. Would you watch an anime series of K-pop Demon Hunters? Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine a series on K-pop Demon Hunters where it's like a demon of the week type thing. We've seen enough TV shows and whatnot like that. Especially if you had like multiple, you can make a larger group. Well, you could just stick to the three girls, to the three main characters from this film. You could also expand it out, make it more. Yeah, I could see. Oh, I would probably definitely watch it. Whether they'll be able to keep up to the standards is another question. Almost certainly, you need to give it time. Couldn't be rushed. Which again was a problem with Arcane season 2. I mean, season 2, there was no season 2 of Arcane. What am I talking about? Anyway, I still need to watch Arcane. Watch the first season of Arcane, and stop. Don't go any further. Kind of like with Pacific Rim. You watch the first one, and then just mourn the fact they never made a second one. Yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters. I really want Studio Trigger to Studio Trigger. Not sure which one they are. Yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters, very good. Animation, acting, singing, thematics. Just a couple of problems in terms of characters reacting to the negative effects of their actions outside of their own personal effects, like the world in general. Like, they show the fact that people are getting killed or having their souls stolen, but that never seems to be like directly addressed by the character. That's one big thing. And then the whole thing of what exactly does accepting the demon side and all that sort of stuff, what does that mean in real world effects regarding their magical energy shield that stops demons, which they've now got rid of and put a new one in? And can demons now come through or not? That's never addressed. That's never explained. And personally, yeah, I think that's a problem. But in general, K-pop Demon Hunters, I do like. What else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, put EFAP into the title. I think this is the first year I've not wanted to watch the anniversary stream for EFAP. For those who don't know, EFAP have doing their anniversary stream, 350 episodes of EFAP. How many years would that be? 3, 6, 7 years, I think. So this would be their 7th anniversary. And normally I watch it. I make an effort to watch it, even if it's delayed, even if I watch it over the week. I started watching this one, and they had a Jim Sterling video, which they normally start with, And then they started talking about difficulty in gaming, and Jesus Christ, on a high board wearing Crocs, they should not talk about it. It pained me listening to them talk about it, because every single time they bring up stuff which doesn't. For example, they bring up the fact that you shouldn't, just because something's in a game doesn't mean you should be using it. I think it is the God, trying to remember their arguments is just annoying, because a lot of the things are like, oh well, if there's a thing in a game that makes it easier, I mean, you shouldn't necessarily be using it. And this is while Mauler, when he played Elden Ring, which is the game most people talk about when it comes to difficulty in gaming nowadays, and hard modes and all that sort of thing. When Mauler played Elden Ring, he used Spirit Ashes left, right, and center. And when people complained to him that he was using them, his response to it was, "It's a thing in the game I can use, I'm going to use it." And then you're watching them talking about people being able to use whatever they like in a game, and their response to that is, well, just because it's in the game doesn't mean you have to use it. So, what? And this actually goes into a greater subject regarding EFAP. Because ages ago, I wanted to make a video, and I was going to entitle it, "Is EFAP Getting Worse?" And this was going to be one of the subjects. Their argumentations seem to be getting worse and worse. And you wonder why I haven't been impressed with EFAP. Their recent stuff is really not great. The thing is, the majority of, outside of their streams, the majority of EFAP is just Mauler, because Rags barely makes anything. Frenny has made like 2 videos. I think he makes like a video a year, if that. And then the other one's Little Platoon. Enough said. But it has definitely they've never been perfect. They've normally been very good in terms of analytically breaking down a piece of media and going, like, this is why this is bad. They've normally been very good about that. Thank you, Antonio. That's quite the compliment. EFAP, I usually like having EFAP on because they go on for so long. I like having them in the background, and especially their older stuff, where they would make memes out of things and have a laugh about stuff, and again, break down things very analytically. So, and it's very easy. It was to the point where they used to do it to a point where I was having a chat with a friend, and they mentioned that they were watching Loki season 1, and they said it was really good. And I just watched EFAP's stream on Loki season 1, and I said, "Huh, really?" Because I heard this about it and relayed something from the stream to him, and my friend went, "Huh, I'm gonna have to think about that." And I was like, that's the sort of quality you get from EFAP. All of the old criticisms they used to get of, oh, it's just Cinema Sins, but longer. So no, Cinema Sins' arguments were majoritively shit. And if you try to relay a Cinema Sins complaint to somebody without knowing, like, having watched the film, the other person will probably tell you you don't know what you're talking about. With EFAP, their criticisms used to be so good that you could relay them, and people would have to have a double think about their opinions of whatever you're talking about. I like their Lilo and Stitch remake breakdown, but I wasn't impressed with what I've seen from their How to Train Your Dragon remake breakdown, and especially not with their Superman breakdown. CinemaSins is not something to be taken seriously. My problem with EFAP recently is that I haven't been watching all the stuff that they cover. So recently they've had Superman and Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts, stuff like that popping up. And it's like, I haven't watched these. I have absolutely no interest in them anymore. So I'm not exactly encouraged to watch their coverage on it. And then when I do watch some of their videos, I then go, okay, this might be correct, this might not be correct. I have no idea, and it's less entertaining as well because once again they're not having a laugh with it as much. They're not having as much memery with it as much. So it is purely breakdown, and you don't know how accurate their breakdown is or how good their breakdown is. So it's one of those things, unfortunately. Did they ever review the Michael Bay Transformers movies? I don't think they did. I think it was one of those things. At one point, they were having all these discussions about, oh, we should go on this arc or we should go on that arc because they did an arc of going through the DC films when they were a thing. Uh, and then obviously they go through the Marvel stuff more often than not. And they did talk about going through all sorts of things, including the Godzilla films, the MonsterVerse films. But then they never got round to it. Instead, they are now doing very odd arcs. I think they're doing like the War arc, which I think I watched one or two films of that. I went, eh. that, and that, especially when you're watching the War arc and they're watching the ones with oh god, what's the actor's name? I can't remember his name now. The one from Pirates of the Caribbean and Kingdom of Heaven. Oh god, what's his name? English actor. Anyway, Legolas. um, that would have been the one time I would have watched them. Yeah, yeah, watching these films with Legolas in, and they're going, "Oh, he can't act. He can't act at all." I said, "What? Are you insane? Yes, he can act. Look at him. He's acting on the screen right now." And it's one of those things of when somebody's opinion really like dulls their senses, dulls their objective understanding of what's going on. What was a really good example? I mean, I say EFAP is getting worse because the things are they fans of Naruto? um, no, it's just generally the war arc is them watching war films, completely disconnected, unrelated war films, and that's kind of what made them kind of to watch because they're just not really a thing. When they were watching all the DC films, you're like, okay, cool, this is all connecting up and going somewhere, and it has something like going on with what's going on at the minute. And then it's like, okay, we're going to watch Gladiator. We're going to watch 300. We're going to watch Kingdom of Heaven. You're like, what have any of these got to do with anything? Nothing? Okay. But this is, and again, this is examples of when they went through their DC arc, that was older stuff when they were like on the top of their game and they were connecting that up. They were connecting up their watch throughs with their streams and then like picking these films apart and explaining exactly why they're bad. Now they've got EFAP movies or films which they're not talking about. It's not in the zeitgeist. They're just things that are happening. At the same time, they're talking about films which most people don't really have that much interest in anymore. And there's even a pattern to the way people talk about them, i.e., wow, this film is great, isn't it? A couple of weeks later, do you remember that film? Not really. A couple of weeks after that, this film wasn't that good, was it? So that it's almost like a waste of time talking about it because people aren't watching those films anymore. They are then talking about them because you haven't watched them. You don't know what they're talking about. So it's kind of like I don't know why I'm watching their streams. I'm curious to see if they'll cover Primitive War once that releases wider. I doubt they even know it exists. Did they watch the OG Superman movie? Now, this is the interesting thing. Meme Repository, when they did the Zack Snyder Man of Steel film, they obviously watched the Man of Steel film. But Meme Repository, who was doing their editing, was a big, or is a big Superman fan. Big comic book fan, as far as I remember. and he was putting all sorts into their watch through of the film. So it wasn't just them commenting on the film; it was also the editor putting loads of stuff in to make it more informative and doing some comparisons and all this sort of thing. It's like, yeah, they're basically really heavily relying on the editor to make their stuff better, and that's unfortunately a problem with some of this. Yeah, they're more recent unbridled rages have not been up to par at all. They found Superman 1978 to be good, as they stated during their breakdown on the 2025 reboot. Well, yeah, if they complained about that, most people look back at the original Superman and go, "Yeah, this was good," because it has all of the elements that people liked about Superman and the acting and all that sort of thing. Whereas nowadays, it's such a confused mess. You either get Zack Snyder's Murder Man, miserable Murder Man, or you get God, what's the guy's name? James Gunn. You get James Gunn's very confused film. I've not watched the film yet. I'm waiting for it to come out on digital. But just hearing, oh, so what's the film about? Well, it's Superman and Green Lantern and this other guy you've probably never heard of, and then this other person you've probably never heard of. Lex Luthor has an army of typewriter monkeys. And what? What is this film? Uh, um, yeah, Christopher Reeve was amazing. R.I.P. The earlier stuff was much better with the odd like it's out now, really? Oh, I'm gonna have to look for that. Um the older stuff was much better with the odd like black spot in terms of like, as we all know, their King of the Monsters video. That was appalling. Appallingly bad. Um what was another example? There was, again, this is something that they did like once in a blue moon back in the day, and they do more nowadays. They were talking to, I think it was Az from Heel versus Babyface, and he was saying, "Oh, I don't want to play No Man's Sky because No Man's Sky is terrible." And the EFAP guys were like, "Oh, but they've done so much better since then. Won't you give it a second chance? They've clearly made updates and they've clearly changed it to make it better, and they're clearly putting effort into like making it a better experience for people. Shouldn't you give it a second chance?" And they're really trying to convince Heel versus Babyface to give No Man's Sky a second chance. An hour later, on the same stream, they mentioned, oh god, what was it? Amnesia Rebirth. Amnesia Rebirth, when that launched, had problems, which were then fixed because the people who made the game were like, "Oh, people have problems with the game. We shall fix these things." But EFAP, having played the game once and been fully aware of the changes being made, said, "Oh, we're not even sure we're going to play the next installment of the Amnesia series because we don't like this game so much." Straight after trying to convince somebody to play a game which was rubbish when it launched, completely rubbish. Amnesia Rebirth wasn't great, but it was still playable. But it's like the dichotomy between them trying to convince someone to play a bad game and them refusing to play a sequel to a game which was just kind of annoying but not bad. Ah, but again, that was a one-off back then. Nowadays, it just seems to be a recurring thing. I've missed all sorts. Have I watched the animated Superman movies? I've watched one or two. I watched the Doomsday. Yeah, it was Doomsday. I watched a Doomsday one, which significantly changed the ending of the film, which I didn't like. I think it also changed some other elements which I remember not liking. Uh, Oh god, this everything's going past so fast. We saw an earlier dud of theirs with King of Monsters. Yeah, I've just mentioned that one. Morland's Alien Romulus video was pretty bad too. Not as bad as King of Monsters did, but still not good. Yeah, again, that's one of these more recent things, and it's one of those examples of once you watch it, you can basically do what they were supposed to do with the film and pick it apart and realize exactly what's wrong with it. I.e., he was really lazy with it. Like in his 40 odd minute video, there's an actual like 25 minutes of actual criticisms, and the majority of them are at the start of the film, which clearly shows how much like he started criticizing the film, got to a certain point, and just went, I can't be bothered with this anymore. I'm just going to pick one or two things later on and then complain about those, and that'll be that. It's like very clearly just couldn't be bothered to do it properly. Also watched their Anthony Gramuglia response stream and really enjoyed that one. Oh, I started watching that live and got very annoyed with them. Like I remember them getting stuck on like his background for ages, to the point where loads of people in the chat were saying, "Could you hurry the fuck up?" Same with their Movie Bob and extra credit streams. Yeah, those streams where they're taking somebody's video and responding to it, those ones are usually good because they're analyzing something and breaking down arguments. Those ones are usually good, which is why it was really shocking in the stream today, or technically yesterday, where they had Jim Sterling. They had a Jim Sterling video, who is traditionally kind of pants, and yet their arguments were so bad I couldn't actually watch their stream. I even tried jumping back on a couple of times to see if they'd stop talking about him, but they were still going, and I was like, I can't be bothered. I've tried 3 times now. I can't bothered. I'm going to be leaving now. It was a pleasure talking to you, CMS. I'll be sending you a couple of my new art. And Antonio, if you're still here, cool. Thanks for joining us. I really like the EFAP episode on Never Knows Best and Starfield. That one's a ride. Did I remember? Did I watch that one? The Starfield stream. It really felt rushed. The Romulus video was rushed, I mean. Bye, Antonio. Yeah, the Romulus one was rushed. The other one, which I'm going to have a rewatch of, if ever I get around to making the video on EFAP, was the Fallout Prime video. Because, yeah, that show's not brilliant in terms of it has issues. It definitely has issues. It definitely suffers from last episode syndrome. Whereas you're watching the series going, oh, I can't wait to see how all this ends up. And then you get to the last episode and you're like, Jesus Christ. There's so many issues. I'm going to have a quick drink. 1 second. I will laugh quite loudly if they start the second season of Fallout Prime with everybody who is in that room at the end on an IV drip of Radaway. Because that cold fusion reactor thing, they show it as just like, look, it's like free clean energy or whatever the hell they say. Free clean energy forever. It's like, that's not how that works. It's cold fusion, but it's still a fusion reactor. That thing is giving off radiation. Everyone in that room is going to be getting so many rads. What else was there? Oh yeah. Again, there are problems with the Fallout Prime show, but some of the things they complained about, clearly they have not played the games. I think Morlo has even said that he's not played the games, which is why it was really weird for him to start complaining about how they changed things from the game. When again, this is an adaptation, there are going to be things that are adapted. It's just whether the adaptations make sense or not. And also, the games change stuff all the time, so even that isn't really a strong criticism you can have. And then he says, "Oh well, if they destroyed this place, and then if you look into the games and how the game world works and all this sort of thing." And he's like, "But you're talking about a thing that isn't mentioned in the show. He's talking about the fall of the NCR, and it's like, but I don't think again, have to watch the show back and have to watch his video back and all that sort of thing. But saying that it feels like he's talking about the fall of the NCR when I don't think they actually say the NCR is destroyed. I think they even point out the fact that people are still supporting the NCR. Funnily enough, I did see a video by Epic Nate, who talks about a lot of like Fallout stuff and Skyrim stuff. And he made a video on like the history of the NCR, and in it he included the Fallout Prime like narrative, and he included it so like it flowed in. There was no like asterisk, by the way, this is in the TV show, so this might not be canon or anything. It rolled right into the narrative, and it sounded absolutely fine. It didn't sound like it was forced or anything. So for Mauler, who again I think he's admitted he's not played the games or doesn't care about the games, for him to sit there and criticize the show for game related stuff was so odd. And especially when it didn't feel it, from what I remember, it wasn't accurate either. So, and the one thing that I found really odd, he did not mention a scene with Maximus right at the start of the show. It's actually a very important scene with Maximus, and he never mentions it. Again, which is really odd because normally in his videos he will talk about absolutely everything. Even the positive stuff he will give a mention, but no, completely skips over it. It's potentially because it didn't support his arguments of the show being bad. So it's just like, well, I'm just going to ignore that being thing and make the show look worse than it actually is. And there was also, I do remember there was a line in the show where he says, in the show, there's a line in his video where he says, I haven't scripted this, but whatever. He's like, he hasn't scripted something. He, who in so many of these videos on his streams covering other people's stuff, his whole thing is, you guys need to redraft. Guys need to rescript. And you're in this video admitting that you're not scripting this. But that's not the Mauler we remember. It's actually one of the. I'm very tempted to go through. Well, I'm tempted. I'm kind of not, because he's been in a couple of his streams. He's been hinting at having done a video that's 12 hours long, and it's on a game. And it's like, what could he possibly be talking about? And apparently, he was going to be talking about it on the anniversary stream, which I haven't watched, so I still don't know what the hell it's about. But the fact that he's spent so much time on this one thing, essentially a stream's length of a video on a subject that we don't even know about. I'm really kind of worried it's going to be about Fallout, and it's not going to be very good. But we shall see. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to mention. I say ages ago, a couple of years ago. Midnight Mass, that was on Netflix. I don't know how many people watched that. I watched it, and the reason I watched it is because I was watching EFAP, who were actually covering something else. But before they started covering the main subject, they mentioned, oh, by the way, Midnight Mass has come out on Netflix, and it's really bad. And they started talking about how bad the show was. And they said, oh, watch it up to a certain point, but then just stop. Don't watch anymore. So I said, well, I like Michael Flanagan's stuff. Like the Fall of House of Usher was very good. So I'm going to watch Midnight Mass, and I'll watch it up to this point, and then I'll see if I want to continue. And I watched it up to the point they mentioned, and it was very good. I decided, I'm gonna test it. I'm gonna try watching the next episode, and the rest of it was very good. And I finished watching the series and went, what the hell were they talking about? I went back to their stream and listened to their arguments, and then thought, what the hell are they talking about? They were so off. It was amazing. I genuinely could not understand how they didn't get the stuff that they were talking about, or the stuff that they were getting wrong talking about. But yeah, this is stuff that they used to do, like once in a blue moon, and nowadays it seems to be becoming more and more of a thing. One of the things I noticed, with the Ironheart thing, I mentioned it when I made my quick unscripted video on Ironheart. I talked about the whole she's bigging up herself by putting Iron Man down. And everybody took that and went, look how bad this show is because it's doing this. Where in the show, they call her out for that. They say what she was saying was a load of rubbish. The show calls her out for that. EFAP, again, who are very, normally used to be very good at this sort of like analysing media and whatnot, they made the exact same complaint. Oh, she's putting down Iron Man to big herself up. And then when the show calls her out, they don't connect the dots. And I was shocked. I was like, how did you miss this? And that's again one of the things. One of my influences for not watching their stuff as much anymore is because I'm listening to them and I can't really trust whether what they're saying is actually true or not. What was the thing? I was watching their Fantastic Four breakdown, and they got to the part where the Silver Surfer turns up, or just after, and they say Reed Richards mentions that the Silver Surfer is too fast to catch or chase, but the Silver Surfer leaves energy behind that they can trace and track that way and find out where they've been. Q EFAP just completely not understanding how any of that works. And I was again listening to it thinking, how do you not understand this? How do you not understand energy trails? I was so flummoxed, is the word I was thinking of. Completely flummoxed by them not understanding this very basic concept. That was actually, oh god. When they did a stream on Fallout, I was in the chat and they were talking about the fact that this town got nuked. And they were convinced that it was an actual nuclear bomb, nuclear missile. And I said in the stream, it wasn't. How do you know it wasn't a nuclear bomb? It could have been a reactor, it could have been a nuclear generator. To which somebody on the stream said, nah, it couldn't have been. And that was it. It was just like, no, it couldn't have been. I think I replied with something like, there's loads of nuclear generators all over the place and something like that. And then I said, what about the Institute in Fallout 4? That got destroyed by a nuclear generator. And they didn't address it. And it's just like, wow, you made something up, complained about the thing you made up, and then you didn't address arguments that countered your made up thing. And again, that's stuff that I'm noticing in their streams. They will talk about something, make something up when they don't know what that thing is, and then start complaining about that thing. And it's, again, annoying because they're talking about films and whatnot that I'm not bothering to watch because I'm not interested in those films. And then watching their streams where they talk about how bad this thing is, and I have no idea whether they're right or not. So I don't actually feel the need to watch their streams. And again, It's now culminated into their anniversary stream where they start talking about game difficulty. And whenever I've heard them talk about it, I've always come away thinking, you guys don't know what the hell you're talking about. More often than not, arguments about game difficulty with them don't have anything to do with the difficulty of the game. It's more about how well made the game is. In the anniversary stream yesterday, they brought up the fact that spirit ashes and whatnot exist in Elden Ring, which are essentially an AI companion that does a lot of combat for you. And somebody made the comparison to, I think it was Monster Hunter, where there is an AI companion, but that AI companion has its limits, and it works better in that game, and it's more of literally just a utility rather than essentially a tag team partner. And it's like, okay, so what you're pointing out here is that this is the mechanic where it's used well in this game, but not used well in this other game. So this isn't about difficulty, it's about how well made the game is. And again, when they try to apply these arguments with other games, when Frini made his video about gaming difficulty, which I responded to, he used Mario as an example. But no one ever complains about the difficulty of Mario. And that's because it's a well-made game. So the difficulty complaints aren't really there. But even when he was complaining about that and coming up with theoretical, like, difficulty sliders, as it were, for that game, even then his arguments were absolute pants. And the same thing happens whenever they're talking. It's just like, they need, when EFAP have got something, I think that's the biggest problem. The things the EFAP used to complain about were Marvel, Star Wars, DC, and stuff around that. Those are the major things they used to complain about, or used to cover. And most of those things now aren't really things anymore. Like the DC has basically restarted again and is going in yet a different direction. Marvel is just it's a corpse dragging itself along the ground at this point. And Star Wars is dead. I don't even know what they're doing at the minute with Star Wars. But nobody's interested in that as far as I'm aware. No one's covering that. So EFAP's major coverage is gone. And yeah, that's probably why they're not covering videos, because nobody else is really making any interesting videos on it. Anyway, I think I've gone for enough at this point. What time is it? 10:15. Yeah, I should probably stop. Still tired from working multiple overtimes. Oh, this is a bank holiday tomorrow. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble now. Definitely tired. Thank you, everybody who came to watch the stream. Apologies for not making this more of a announced stream. Maybe I'll start doing these streams at this time more often, because it's later for me, and there'll theoretically be better times for other people in other, like in America. I'm guessing it's after work at this point. Who knows? We'll test it out. Anyway, this is me rambling about stuff incoherently. Hopefully, it's been entertaining enough for hold your attention. See you next time, whenever that will be. Potentially next week, we shall see. God knows what I'm going to be talking about. Anyway, last but not least, thank you for watching.